Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another fascinating journey into the depths of some thought-provoking material.
Always eager to explore new ideas, especially when they come from such an unexpected source.
Today we're tackling a rather intriguing bestseller, The Little Book of Sloth Philosophy by Jennifer McCartney. And she's not just your average author, she has a PhD in philosophy.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily associate sloths with deep philosophical insights.
Right, but that's what makes this book so unique. She combines her academic background with this really engaging, often humorous look at how we can actually learn some valuable life lessons from animals. And guess what? This particular book, focusing on the wisdom of the sloth, really struck a chord with readers. It became a bestseller and even got praised for its surprisingly calming effect.
A book about sloths promoting calmness. That's pretty counterintuitive, especially in our fast-paced world.
Exactly. And let's not forget the charming illustrations by Universe Garbage, love that name, and the translation by Chen Kang, which has opened up this little gem to an even wider audience. Speaking of wider audiences, the book even has some pretty fantastic endorsements.
Oh, endorsements are always a good sign. What kind of people are singing the praises of sloth philosophy?
Well, we have clinical psychologist Siyixian, who playfully questions our constant rush and busyness when even sloths seem to have it all figured out. Then there's the illustrator of Lazy Sunday, who describes it as the perfect stress reliever for our weary souls in the modern workplace.
It seems like the book really resonated with people from different walks of life, right from the start.
It does sound like it tapped into a certain need for a different perspective, a counterpoint to the constant pressure to be productive and achieve. Absolutely. So let's get to the heart of it. In a world that often feels like a whirlwind of activity, the Little Book of Sloth Philosophy proposes something quite radical, slowing down and embracing a more sloth-like rhythm. And it's not just about feeling a bit more chilled out, there's actual scientific backing for the benefits of a slower pace. Research suggests that slowing down can actually reduce stress and even boost our overall happiness.
That's fascinating. It seems to go against everything we're often told about the importance of being constantly busy and productive.
Yeah.
But if the science is there, it's definitely worth exploring.
Right. We're so conditioned to see laziness as a major flaw, but this book turns that on its head. It's about consciously taking back our personal time and resisting the urge to fill every moment with meaningless busyness.
So instead of glorifying being busy, it's suggesting a more mindful and deliberate way of choosing where we direct our energy.
Exactly. And who better to be the mascot of the slow movement than the sloth itself? They're famous for their incredibly slow movements, their deliberate, almost meditative actions, and their complete disregard for societal pressures. Plus, they have this amazingly relaxed approach to life and death, which really makes you wonder, could this seemingly unproductive creature actually have some valuable lessons to teach us?
It's a thought-provoking premise. Maybe by observing the sloth's unhurried way of being, we can gain insights into how to create a more balanced and fulfilling life for ourselves.
Exactly. At the heart of this sloth philosophy is the SLOW method. It's simple, easy to remember, and can make a world of difference.
SLRW. I'm intrigued. Break it down for us.
SLOW stands for sleep in, leave your phone at home, opt out, and what's the rush? 4 simple principles that can really transform how we approach our daily lives. Let's start with that first, perhaps most appealing principle, sleep in.
Sleep. It's something we all need, but often don't prioritize enough. But I'm curious, how does the book address the societal contradictions surrounding sleep? On one hand, we're told it's crucial for health, and on the other, we admire those who boast about functioning on very little sleep.
That's such a great point. It's almost like we praise those who burn the candle at both ends, but then wonder why we're all so exhausted. But the Little Book of Sloth Philosophy really challenges this double standard. It celebrates the joy and the benefits of getting enough sleep, better mood, sharp concentration, improved memory, even muscle growth. It makes you wonder if those seemingly effortless celebrities might be secret sleep champions.
So rather than praising sleep deprivation, the book highlights the real and tangible benefits of getting adequate rest. Are there specific examples of how this ties into our overall health?
Absolutely. The book dives into the research linking good sleep habits to reduce reliance on healthcare resources and a lower risk of serious health issues like heart disease, diabetes, and obesity.
It makes perfect sense. When we're well rested, our bodies and minds function better overall, leading to a healthier and more balanced state of being.
Right. So the book encourages us to embrace our inner sloth when it comes to sleep. Whether it's enjoying a calming chamomile tea before bed, making sure your room is nice and dark, or simply hitting that snooze button a few extra times in the morning, whatever helps you achieve that restful, sloth-like slumber.
So it's about finding what truly works for you, rather than adhering to rigid rules or societal expectations.
Exactly. Now, on to the next letter in SLOW. Leave your phone at home. Just the thought of this might make some of us a little anxious. What if I get lost? What if someone needs to reach me? But the book really emphasizes the potential freedom and benefits that can come from intentional disconnection.
I can imagine that separation anxiety. But it's true, we've become so attached to our phones that it can be hard to imagine life without them. How does the book address this dependence?
It acknowledges that anxiety, but then quickly shifts to the potential liberation and reconnection with the physical world. It points out the less appealing side of constant phone use, potential negative impacts on our brains from endless scrolling, and even the impact on our waistlines from being sedentary.
It's a good reminder that our constant connection can have both mental and physical consequences. We're often so stimulated and connected that we forget to just be.
Right. So the book suggests a gradual process to ease ourselves into phone-free time. Start small, maybe leave your phone at home for a quick errand, then try a longer coffee break without it. Feel that little pang of anxiety, then push it further 10 minutes, a few hours, maybe even a whole day or a weekend eventually.
It's a good point. We wouldn't expect someone to quit smoking cold turkey, so why should disconnecting from our phones be any different? It's about taking those small steps to regain control over our attention.
Exactly. And if you absolutely can't bear to be completely phoneless, there's always airplane mode. You're still disconnected from the constant influx of messages, but your phone is there if you absolutely need it.
A good compromise for those baby steps towards a more balanced relationship with technology.
Now, onto the ONSLOW opt-out. This one goes right to the core of the sloth mindset. It's about consciously letting go of the pressure to be constantly busy, productive, and available.
That's a big one. We're so conditioned to believe that being busy is a badge of honor. It almost feels like a status symbol to be constantly running around, juggling multiple commitments.
So true. But the sloth philosophy encourages us to push back against that. It says it's perfectly fine, actually, beneficial for our mental health to be unproductive sometimes.
It's almost like giving ourselves permission to step off the treadmill and simply exist without feeling guilty about it.
Exactly. It's about saying no to those energy-draining commitments that don't truly serve us and remembering that being busy is not a status symbol if it's making you miserable.
So it's about consciously choosing where we direct our energy, rather than just being swept along by external demands and expectations.
And that leads perfectly into the W, what's the rush? This is like your personal mantra, something to repeat whenever you feel that wave of overwhelm or anxiety creeping in.
I love that. Such a simple question, yet so powerful and challenging, that often automatic sense of urgency we feel.
It forces us to pause and question the true urgency of all those tasks piling up. Are they really critical right now, or are we sacrificing our well-being for something that can wait? The book uses this great example of everyday interruptions, a text from your accountant, a friend planning a trip, and suddenly you find yourself online shoe shopping.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. Those seemingly small distractions can quickly derail our entire day and leave us feeling completely overwhelmed.
Right. The book also highlights the slower pace of communication in previous generations. Our grandparents wrote letters that took weeks to arrive, and they still managed their lives and relationships. It really puts our often inflated sense of urgency in perspective.
It's a good point. Maybe we need to step back from the constant barrage of instant communication and reclaim some of that slower, more deliberate pace in our lives.
Absolutely. So ask yourself, will the world really end if you take a few moments for yourself or postpone that non-essential task until tomorrow? Chances are it won't.
That's a liberating thought. Sometimes simply taking a pause and questioning our perceived urgency is all we need to regain a sense of control over our time and energy.
Now, the book has this fun quiz to help you gauge your inner sloth levels. 5 multiple-choice questions covering everything from your reading preferences to how you react to urgent tasks.
I love quizzes. They're a lighthearted way to gain a little self-awareness and see how our habits and preferences align with certain concepts.
Right. Based on your answers, you get categorized into one of 5 amusing sloth types: the absent-minded sloth, the contemplative sloth, the sloth devotee of Egeria, we'll come back to her later, the let me tell you about the latest lazy meme sloth, and the rather concerning restless sloth, which sounds more like a hyperactive squirrel than a sloth.
It's a clever way to make the philosophy more engaging and relatable. And who knows, Maybe some people will discover a hidden sloth personality they never knew they had.
Speaking of interesting personalities, the book then introduces us to some famous followers of sloth philosophy. These are people who achieved great things but seem to embrace a more relaxed, even procrastinatory approach to their work. The first one is Douglas Adams, the genius behind The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's intriguing. It challenges the idea that success always requires a relentless, always-on kind of work ethic.
He was known as a deadline dodger, famously saying, "I love deadlines. I love the whooshing sound they make as they fly by." There's even a story about his editor having to stay in a hotel room with him for 3 weeks just to get him to finish a book.
That sounds like a rather unconventional but ultimately effective writing process. It suggests that giving ideas time to develop, even if it means pushing deadlines, can lead to truly remarkable work.
And get this, he admitted to doing hardly any work during university, apparently completing just 3 essays in 3 years. Yet he became one of Britain's most beloved writers, definitely operating at his own pace.
It reinforces the idea that success isn't tied to a rigid timeline or a specific work ethic. Different paths, different paces, same destination. Achievement.
Next up is Leonardo da Vinci. You might not immediately picture him as a sloth advocate, but the book makes a compelling case.
Now that you mention it, Da Vinci was known for taking his time with his masterpieces. But wouldn't you say his immense curiosity and diverse range of interests were also contributing factors?
Absolutely. It wasn't just laziness. It was about allowing his creative process to unfold naturally. Take the Mona Lisa. It's relatively small, but it's believed to have taken him maybe 15 years to finish.
15 years. Wow. That's a stark contrast to someone like Michelangelo, who painted the entire Sistine Chapel ceiling in just 4 years.
Right. Different approaches, but both created masterpieces. Da Vinci also took a whopping 25 years to finish The Virgin of the Rocks, initially a 7-month project. But he wasn't idle during that time. He was sketching, inventing things like early helicopters and tanks.
So his slowness wasn't just about procrastination, but about exploring different avenues of his creativity. It was all part of his process.
Then we have Lord Melbourne, a British prime minister who wasn't exactly known for his decisive action. He didn't start any wars or enact groundbreaking policies.
So not exactly a stereotypical dynamic leader. But I'm curious, how does the book portray his rather passive approach?
His famous line was, "Why not live it alone?" often followed by delay and postponement. The book playfully presents him as a kind of anti-hero, embodying a certain charm in just not doing things.
I can see the appeal, especially in today's world where there's constant pressure to be doing something, anything, all the time. Maybe sometimes inaction is the wisest course of action.
Food for thought. Next up, we have Frank Lloyd Wright, the iconic architect. He actually forgot about a commission for the Fallingwater House for 9 months.
9 months?
Yeah.
Wow. That's either impressive or terrifying, depending on how you look at it. But I'm curious, how did he manage to pull it off?
Well, the client, Edgar Kaufman, called and said he'd be in the area soon to see the designs. Wright, having completely spaced on the project, confidently assured him everything was on track. Then, with Kaufman on his way, he reportedly sketched the entire plan for Fallingwater in about 2 hours.
That's incredible. Talk about working under pressure. It seems like for some people, a deadline is the ultimate motivator.
Right. And the book's point. What might look like laziness could be someone's most efficient way of working. Why spend 9 months when 2 hours under pressure will do?
It's a good reminder that there are different approaches to productivity and creativity. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's okay.
We also have the celebrated author Edith Wharton, known for The House of Mirth. She loved writing in bed, which, given her sprawling Massachusetts estate, does sound appealing.
Working from bed. Now that's a concept I can get behind. But it does challenge the traditional notion of a structured workspace as a necessity for productivity.
Her friend described her setup. A writing board on her lap, an ink bottle nearby, her dog snuggled under her elbow, and the bed covered in letters and books. Dog, books, and bed sounds cozy and productive.
It reinforces the idea that creative work can happen anywhere, anytime. Comfort and inspiration can be found in the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. You can even visit her preserved writing suite and see this slothful workspace for yourself.
That's a must-see for any aspiring writers. Maybe a little nap under bed will spark some creative genius.
And lastly, we have the French writer Colette. In her 30s, she felt like she was failing to reach her literary potential, but she developed a very specific pre-writing ritual. Before putting pen to paper, she had to groom and pamper her French bulldog. Only then could she begin writing.
That's a rather unique ritual, but it highlights the importance of finding those personal routines that help us focus and engage with our work, even if they seem unconventional to others.
Right. And she famously said, writing is the joy and torment of laziness. A feeling I'm sure many of us can relate to, regardless of our profession. So the book shows that even those who achieve great things often embrace a more relaxed, even slothful approach.
It's really refreshing to see that success doesn't always have to come at the cost of our well-being. Maybe a little bit of sloth wisdom can help us achieve a better balance in our lives.
Now, the book shifts gears a bit and explores how we can apply sloth principles to health, particularly in a world obsessed with extreme workouts. The central idea: slower is healthier.
That's intriguing. We're constantly bombarded with messages about high-intensity training and pushing ourselves to the limit. But is there another way?
The book quotes Lily Tomlin. For fast-acting relief, try slowing down. It reminds us of the sloth's incredible slowness, 4 meters per minute on the ground, maybe 4.5 in an emergency.
4 meters a minute. Wow. We'd be labeled as completely unproductive in our society if we move that slowly.
The book acknowledges the benefits of high-intensity training, but questions our obsession with pushing ourselves to exhaustion. It highlights scientific evidence supporting the benefits of slower movement therapies like yoga and Tai Chi for reducing chronic pain. There's even a mention of studies showing that those who practice these gentler exercises may use fewer sedatives.
It's interesting how the book brings in those scientific findings to support its claims. Are there any specific studies mentioned that highlight the benefits of slow movement?
Yeah. There's a 2008 study from Tufts Medical Center showing that Tai Chi effectively reduced pain and stiffness for arthritis patients after 12 weeks.
So it's not just about anecdotal evidence. There's actual research backing up these benefits.
And the mechanism. These slower movements increase our body's relaxation response and decrease the stress response, potentially boosting immunity. The book also points out the benefits of brisk walking as a kinder alternative to running.
It's a good reminder that there are different ways to be active and healthy. It doesn't always have to be about pushing ourselves to the absolute limit.
Right. It's about finding that slow, controlled movement combined with mindful breathing, a concept very much in line with the sloth's way of being.
Embracing the slow and steady approach, just like our sloth friends.
Now on to something we often take for granted: breathing. The book talks about the sloth's ability to breathe deeply, even upside down. Apparently, their anatomy allows them to breathe easily in various positions, including their favorite upside-down hang.
That's amazing. It makes you wonder, why do we struggle so much with something as basic as breathing?
Well, the book points out that we tend to breathe inefficiently due to tension, poor posture, think hunching over laptops and constant distractions. This leads to shallow breathing and underventilation.
It's true. We're so caught up in our busy lives that we forget to even breathe properly, and the consequences of that can be quite significant.
Exactly. The book emphasizes deep breathing's importance for reducing stress and lowering blood pressure. It even mentions that increased blood oxygen from deep breathing can speed cell healing and potentially reduce inflammation.
Are there any specific examples of this connection between deep breathing and reduced inflammation?
There's a 2016 study from the University of South Carolina showing a reduction in inflammatory cytokines after just 20 minutes of breathing exercises.
20 minutes. That's a relatively small investment of time for such significant potential benefits.
And deep breathing isn't some new age fad. It's been practiced by yogis for centuries, as well as by military personnel and athletes. The message is simple: straighten up, allow your chest to expand, and take those deep, full breaths.
Sounds easy enough, but it's something we often overlook in the rush of daily life. A good reminder to slow down and breathe.
Now, think about finding peace in a noisy world. The book highlights that sloths, with their small ears, spend their lives in relative silence, a stark contrast to the noise pollution we often endure.
Silence can be so precious, especially in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with noise. But how does the book address this issue?
It reminds us that noise pollution can have serious health consequences: hearing loss, sleep disturbances, high blood pressure, increased stress. It notes that alarm sirens can reach 120 decibels, construction sites around 80 to 90, even subway trains reach 80 decibels. Scientists have even observed robins adapting their songs to nighttime to be heard above the daytime din.
That's alarming. It's a reminder that noise pollution isn't just an annoyance, it's a genuine health hazard that we need to take seriously.
While we can't all live in quiet treetops like sloths, the book offers practical tips for noise reduction: outdoors, earplugs, noise-canceling headphones, peaceful walks in parks. At home, soundproof windows, white noise machines, or apps.
Those are some great practical tips, and maybe a few less realistic ones as well.
Right. There are some humorous suggestions too, sending the kids to boarding school, swapping a barking dog for a quieter cat. But the message is clear. Create quiet refuges in this noisy world.
It's about actively seeking out those pockets of peace and tranquility in our often chaotic environments.
It even mentions potential for improvement through urban planning, but for now, the advice is slow down, listen to your surroundings, and find quiet moments whenever possible. There's even a little poem. Sloth slowly goes, hanging where the quiet grows. Every day a Friday.
I love that. It perfectly captures the essence of a slothful approach to finding peace in a noisy world. Every day can be a little bit more peaceful if we just slow down and seek out those quiet moments.
Okay, not everyone appreciates the sloth's laid-back lifestyle. The book addresses this with "Don't fall for the haters." It quotes Georges Louis Leclerc, Comte de Buffon, a French naturalist who, back in 1749, had some harsh words for sloths.
Oh no. What did he say about our beloved sloth?
He called them slow and sluggish, always suffering with a stupid air, even said they were the lowest form of existence.
Ouch. That's some serious sloth slander. It's fascinating to see how perspectives on animals can evolve over time. I wonder what he would think of the sloth's popularity today.
The book then connects that judgment to the criticism we humans face: appearance, lifestyle choices, perceived flaws, the negativity online, our own inner critic telling us we're not good enough.
It's so true. It's easy to internalize that negativity and start believing those critical voices.
Yeah.
But as the book suggests, maybe we can learn something from the sloth's indifference to judgment.
Right. The sloth just keeps on being a sloth, seemingly unaffected by opinions. Imagine if they'd internalized Buffon's words. They might not have survived. Instead, they thrived, avoided extinction, and made slowness their style.
A valuable lesson in resilience and self-acceptance.
The advice: ignore the haters, be true to yourself, and eventually the critics might change their tune. And even if they don't, you're still awesome.
Love it. A great message to carry with us both online and offline. Be yourself, embrace your quirks, and don't let the naysayers get you down.
Now back to nature. The book dedicates a section to Trees Are Your Friends, Take a Forest Bath, highlighting the sloth's arboreal life and love for nature.
Forest bathing. I've heard about that. It's that Japanese practice of immersing yourself in the forest atmosphere, right? But is there any scientific evidence to support its benefits?
It actually originated in Japan in the 1980s as a form of preventative medicine. And yes, there's science behind it. Spending time amongst trees has been shown to reduce blood pressure and stress, improve sleep, boost mood and energy, even sharpen focus and concentration.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's actually good for us.
Yeah.
The sloths, in their own way, seem to have known this all along.
Right, so the book encourages us to find a forest, even a small park, and just be present there. Breathe the fresh air, take in the beauty, even hug a tree. If you can't get to a forest, try bringing nature indoors with houseplants.
Houseplants are a great way to bring a little bit of nature into our homes, and they've been shown to have some positive effects too, right?
Absolutely. They can boost efficiency, improve focus, reduce stress, and lift our moods. So whether it's a full-on forest bath or just adding some greenery to your living room, connecting with nature is a key part of the sloth philosophy.
Embracing nature's tranquility.
Now, who would have thought that exercise could be approached in a sloth-like way? The book explores this in Practice Sloth Philosophy Through Exercise.
Exercise and sloths. Now that's an unexpected combination. I'm curious, what kind of exercises would fit into this laid-back philosophy?
It starts with a quote from Agatha Christie. "I don't think necessity is the mother of invention. Invention, in my opinion, arises directly from idleness, possibly also from laziness to save oneself trouble." The book then playfully dismisses American football as being slow, but potentially harmful, and dives into some surprisingly slothful approaches to other sports.
That's Agatha Christie for you. Always full of insightful observations about human nature. But I'm curious, what kind of sloth-approved exercises are we talking about here?
Well, first up is darts. Socializing minimal exertion, often enjoyed with a drink in hand, sounds pretty sloth-like to me.
I can see that. It's a social activity that doesn't require intense physical effort. Perfect for those who prefer a more relaxed pace.
Next is swimming, but with a slothful twist: hot baths. A Loughborough University study showed that an hour-long hot bath can burn 140 calories and slightly lower blood sugar. So indulge in those saunas, hot tubs, and bubble baths. Minimal movement required.
Now, that's my kind of exercise. Who knew relaxation could be so beneficial for our health?
Then there's Bosch Ball, a slower, more down-to-earth version of bowling. Perfect for those who find regular bowling too energetic. Gently throw balls towards a target, plenty of downtime for chatting and enjoying a drink. The book even says any sport that encourages alcohol consumption has to be fun.
It does sound quite leisurely. I'm sensing a theme here. Socializing, relaxing, and maybe a little bit of indulgence.
Even ice curling gets a mention. Acknowledging its complexity, the book praises its meditative and engaging qualities. The elegant movement of the stones, the sweeping, the balance of dignity and teamwork with simple rules.
Curling can be surprisingly captivating. It's a sport that requires strategy, precision, and teamwork, all within a slower, more deliberate pace.
And lastly, there's shuffleboard, a slower, less equipment-intensive version of curling, popular with older folks, but gaining traction among hipsters due to its low-exertion nature.
Shuffleboard is having a moment. It's a great example of how slower-paced activities can appeal to a diverse range of people.
To help you find your perfect sloth-like sport, the book has another quiz. This one asks about your ideal exercise day, your preferred sports drink, even your workout attire.
These quizzes are so much fun. I'm always curious to see what my results will be. So what kind of sloth athlete could I potentially be?
Based on your answers, you might be suited for a relaxed game of darts, maybe a surprising 800-meter sprint, not very sloth-like, or a leisurely game of croquet, or even a slothful tennis match.
Okay, I'm not sure how tennis can be slothful, but I'm willing to learn.
It's all about finding what resonates with your inner sloth.
Embracing our inner sloth athlete. Now on to something universally loved. Food. I'm curious, how does the sloth philosophy approach food?
The book applies sloth principles to eating, aiming to reduce anxiety around food and help us enjoy our meals without overthinking.
That's something we all struggle with, right? There's so much conflicting information about what we should be eating, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and guilty about our choices.
It quotes Carla Petrini, founder of the slow food movement, speaking of a thirst for slowness, to resist blandness and rediscover the pleasures of taste. It reminds us of the sloth's incredibly slow digestion, up to a month for one meal. They have the slowest metabolic rate in the animal kingdom.
A month to digest a meal.
Yeah.
Now that's slow food taken to the extreme.
The book draws parallels between the sloth's lifestyle and the slow food movement, which originated in Italy as a counter to fast food, emphasizing fresh, local ingredients enjoyed with loved ones over long, unhurried meals.
That does sound lovely. But let's be realistic, not all of us have the time or resources to cook elaborate meals from scratch every day.
The book acknowledges that, reassuring us that fast food and takeout are perfectly okay too. Sloth-like slow eating is about adopting a positive attitude towards any food, without guilt.
So it's not about restricting our choices or following strict dietary rules. It's about finding joy in the act of eating itself.
To really embody slow food, the book suggests planning a picnic with friends. Bring cheese, bread, wine, whatever you fancy, and savor it slowly, taking a couple of hours to enjoy each bite. It's about appreciating the pleasure of food, regardless of whether you're supporting local producers or enjoying a treat from the corner store.
It's a great reminder to slow down and savor the experience of eating, rather than just mindlessly consuming food on the go.
Moving on to our leafy green friends. The book has a section titled Live Better with Greens, starting with a Lithuanian proverb. Give a lazy person an egg, he'll ask you to peel it first.
A rather cheeky proverb, but it makes a point. So how does the book approach the often dreaded topic of eating more vegetables?
It gently reminds us that sloths are herbivores, happily munching on leaves, shoots, and fruits. Now, I know adding more greens might not be everyone's favorite idea, but the book clarifies that it's not about becoming vegan overnight. It's about gently encouraging more veggies in our daily meals.
A gentler approach to healthy eating, rather than strict rules or guilt trips.
Right. The book suggests easy ways to incorporate more greens, fruit and veggie smoothie bars, swapping dishes for healthier options when eating out.
Practical and accessible tips that make healthy eating feel less daunting. But what about those who still resist the leafy green goodness?
The book highlights the benefits. Leafy greens are packed with vitamins C and K, folate, potassium, iron, helping prevent diseases, improve digestion, and even strengthen bones.
So those greens might not be so bad after all. A little bit of effort goes a long way in boosting our health and well-being.
Here's a piece of advice that resonates with me. Refuse to eat salad at your desk. The book points out that sloths eat outdoors, far from their slow computers.
Eating al desco is so common these days. But I'm curious, what's the sloth philosophy's argument against this practice?
It argues against desk lunches, citing the benefits of sunlight, better posture from not hunching over a keyboard, the value of walking and interacting with others, and the importance of a proper break.
It's a good point. We often sacrifice those small breaks and moments of rejuvenation in the pursuit of productivity. But stepping away from our desks, even for a short time, can make a world of difference.
The key is finding what works for you to make lunch breaks more sloth-like. Go outside, find a park, some steps, a cafe, anything but eating while working. The author even shares that 8 years of desk salads didn't lead to greater happiness or health.
8 years of desk salads. That's a powerful testament to the importance of taking a proper break and enjoying our meals in a more mindful and relaxing environment.
Right, it's a simple message. Eating while checking work emails is unhealthy. Lunch breaks are for rest and rejuvenation.
Give yourself permission to disconnect and recharge.
Now, here's an interesting tidbit. Sloth philosophy. Enjoy it. The book mentions that a significant portion of a sloth's weight comes from the contents of their stomach.
Oh, that's fascinating. What does that tell us about their approach to eating?
They can consume huge amounts of leaves, with over a quarter of their body weight sometimes being undigested food. They don't seem concerned about bloating or dietary rules.
That's a stark contrast to the constant pressure we humans feel to control our eating habits and adhere to ever-changing dietary trends.
Exactly. The book playfully lists examples of those often contradictory recommendations, starting your day with warm lemon water, eating a clove of garlic daily, 3-day cleanses with steamed chicken and beetroot, coffee enemas. It highlights how exhausting and expensive the pursuit of dietary perfection can be.
It's overwhelming. It's also like we're constantly being told we're doing something wrong when it comes to food.
The sloth philosophy says, forget the numbers, the weights, the calories, the detoxes, even the superfoods. Unless you're eating obviously harmful substances or extreme junk food, your eating habits are probably fine. The book reminds us that access to healthy and hygienic food is a privilege compared to the past.